The Last of Us Part 2 is no stranger to anybody. Anyone who has played video games knows what it is and probably has some opinion about it whether they've played it or not. It's actually the most bizarre game I've ever seen in the sense that its reception is usually overwhelmingly positive or overwhelmingly negative. Take a look at these Metacritic reviews I found where it literally flip-flops between a 10 and a 0 over and over and over. It's hilarious. But I'm gonna stop myself there. This isn't a critique, it's a playthrough. One that would literally make me want to be the one getting my head smashed in with a club. The Oxford Dictionary defines scavenging as to search for and collect anything useful. This is one of the core gameplay mechanics of The Last of Us. Or any zombie game, really, it's not exactly special. So I thought, what if I said no, and didn't pick up a single item for the entirety of this 30-hour game? And as far as I know, nobody has done this challenge before, so I took it upon myself to attempt what I honestly thought was probably impossible. Before we start, there's a few things we need to get out of the way. 1. The rules. I can't press triangle to pick up any items that are optional. That means no crafting ingredients or weapons unless they are mandatory to progress. I'm going to be using the basic starting loadout the whole time. This means I need to rely on the time skips in the game for health refreshers. When it came to the bow, I actually had to make a decision. I decided that if I had already shot the arrow, I could pick it back up, but I could only pick up the previously shot arrows. That means once the ones I spawned in with broke, I was done with the bow. I also decided that if Ellie or Abby picks up a melee weapon via melee, that's okay. Let me explain myself because it probably just sounds like I had a seizure. Basically, there are certain occasions where if you don't have a melee weapon and you punch someone to death, you can sometimes pick up their weapon automatically. This is unstoppable and unpredictable, so I decided to leave it in the run because I used melee for the majority of the game here. I only ever picked up a weapon this way like 3 times throughout the whole game anyway, so it wasn't some huge deal breaker. Number 2, HDR. I learned the hard way here, don't record your footage in HDR. It's all gross and stuff. I'm so sorry. It looks awful. I am so sorry. 3. Finally, we're going to be playing on New Game Survivor, and I will not be changing the difficulty at all. I sat there and suffered on the same encounters for hours instead of changing difficulties just for you, so please give me a like, because I am just so tired now. I'll mostly be showing you my successful attempts because there's about 10 hours of just me failing, and I'm pretty sure YouTube doesn't even let you post anything over 10 hours anyway. The Last of Us is the bread and butter of my existence. I know every single intricacy of the mechanics and spawns like the back of my hand, and I know about every single crevice on Joel's body that have polygons and triangles. That's kind of a problem here because I actually don't know shit about this game nearly at all. I've beat it once on normal about a year and a half ago, and that's it. That means I don't know where all the doors are, I don't know all the glitches to skip areas, I'm pretty sure there aren't even any glitches to skip that many areas, and I don't know AI paths. Basically, I was buttering up my asshole to be really sore by the end of this. I spawned in as the titular character of the game, Us. Now, Us is big and strong because she's a symbolic and deep representation of how Twitter users think they look when they use the clown emoji. Really, it's some powerful stuff and makes you truly think about our society in thought-provoking ways only Naughty Dog could do. Abby's sections here are actually really easy, so I'll mostly kind of just gloss over them. Lots of the early game stuff is just tutorials, and I'm not going to count these as failures because I'm not a baby and I have no control over this. I had a pretty big Giga Chad mindset going into this, so I wasn't scared at all. Turns out that was an awful idea because it took me 10 minutes to kill 2 clickers. For some reason, Dina was clearly on their side and kept luring them back into me like the whore she is. Now I found my first hurdle. Up to now, all encounters have been pretty scripted and easy to stealth, mostly. This one, not so much. I don't know why I had so much damn trouble here, but the game's first encounter took me like 15 minutes to complete. I ended up having to hide from a clicker on top of a checkout stand because contrary to my prior statement, I am in fact a baby. It was at this point that I started to feel some dread because I thought there's no way I could possibly beat the entire game if I struggled for 30 minutes on the game's first 2 encounters. Next, we ran around and committed some unwarranted murder with Tommy and Joel, as you do. Combat isn't really that hard with teammates, so I kinda just ran in circles like I was playing COD Zombies. Now that Abby was saved, she decided to do the dirty to Joel, and that kicks off our main game, Seattle Day 1. That cutscene honestly makes me feel sick every time I watch it. Like I want to vomit. This chapter honestly kinda broke me. I wasn't prepared to deal with the threats I would have to face without any resources at all. The courthouse garage section literally got my heart pumping. I had to run in circles and train zombies like it was COD for over 15 minutes because Dina just wouldn't do anything. I wasn't confident enough with my dodging yet to take multiple enemies head on, and there was a pretty annoying clicker that wouldn't leave me alone. 20 calories burned later and I got out. In hindsight, you can probably just open the garage without killing the zombies, but I was fighting for my life in there and I didn't have time to think about that. Now this is what I wasn't prepared for. The hotel. I had a full health bar walking into the hotel, and I walked out with just a damn sliver. And that sliver would be all I had for the rest of the entire chapter. And in case you haven't been following along, this is the very beginning of the chapter, and I lost my entire health bar here. There's only one runner encounter here, but holy crap was it hard. It's impossible to solid snake this, and clearly I suck ass at not solid snaking anything. After Tommy got to live out my dreams, we found out that Shimmer was actually a bomb planted by the Joker and we got caught. Now this is where I first started to pull out my hair. Literally a single piece of damage will kill me, so I need to get through this whole thing flawlessly. The first set of guys here forced me to waste a bullet, but the second group you can actually run past. I was stuck here for about 45 freaking minutes. There's simply too many enemies designed to come at you loosely, so it's like they never stop coming. Shut up. Eventually, I found out you can sprint down the left side and hide until everyone walks past. This gets you to the third area, but there's no checkpoint here, so I had to do this painstaking process every time I got caught. After studying the AI's patterns for a while, I figured out you can actually stack all their bodies behind specific boxes in the grass like you're playing fucking Tetris. The next encounter was a bit weird. A bunch of enemies come off the roof and run to preset positions. If you sneak past them, one of them will turn around no matter what and absolutely bumfuck your asshole. If you try to run past them too fast, a guy with a gun pops out the door and absolutely bumfucks your front hole. As you can see, that's a bit of a problem. So I needed to kill this guy who would always turn around, but thankfully nobody saw that and let me move on. It's really weird. He's in this place, you can totally just pop him right there. But if you don't pop him, he turns around and shoots you. Like, what? Why? Why can't you just stealth that? Now, I ran into a little issue. I was using a PS4 to record and it doesn't actually tell you when you're recording, so I didn't ever know. I just had to hope. There's a couple sections here where I don't have any footage from my run. I know that sounds like something I would say to cheat, but the footage I lost was all actually relatively easy sections that I can quickly explain what I did. If it's relevant, I can show you what I did. If not, I'll just show you some gameplay of me brutally massacring people for fun like Ellie intended. You come up on this building that I think might be a laundromat, not really sure. Not sure why I said that, it doesn't matter. But it wasn't too crazy. Pop up on the top, take out the sniper, hop down, take out one gun guy, and run away, then run away, and repeat. There's a series of open-ended encounters with wolves here that I'm actually kind of sad I didn't get to record. I got some insane luck that I could never replicate, but basically I looped like 7 guards around a single patch of grass and a tree, and I baited 5 more into a room and brutally stabbed them all to death. Anyway, combat was done for a bit now, and it's the claymore section. You can sneak past a lot of the claymores, but there's about 4 or 5 that you can't. I used all my ammo on them, except I had 0 bullets left for the very last claymore. I ended up having to pick up a brick and throw it. This was the first instance of the game where I had to pick up an item in an optional section. I'm gonna put this in a sort of yellow area for failure since I technically could have gotten through it okay if I had saved more ammo earlier, but I didn't know. Since I'm not scavenging anything, I never picked up the shotgun earlier in the bank. Once you get to the TV station, the game forces you to take the shotgun in order to open a door, so I finally got it. It came with 1 shell, and that's all I had since I used my ammo on the claymores. The rest of the TV station I usually have trouble clearing in stealth actually, but this time it went over pretty phenomenally. I accidentally got caught, but I just went with it, and for some reason all the enemies just piled up in one room and let me brutally murder them secretly like how Peeta does. So that was great. The subway encounter with the clickers and WLF guards scared me at first. There's a crap ton of enemies down here and they move and guard the exit. I found out though that you can literally just walk to the left and take the right opportunity to hit the exit. Apparently this clicker also just snuck past all 10 armed guards. It's a bit weird, but alright. Initially I had a lot of trouble with the shambler parts. I forgot how they worked, and this was my first time playing on survivors, so I wasn't prepared for their awareness. After looking at a speedrun, it turns out if you crawl on the floor, none of the infected can hear you unless you touch them. There's one more shambler encounter that was easier than I anticipated. Just crawl around on the floor again and take out the runners and stay out of the shambler's path, and they literally won't do anything. It's kinda sad. There's one gameplay mechanic I need to explain for you to understand the issue of this run when it comes to infected. Normally clickers and shamblers can't see you unless you make noise, but they have this one certain behavior that lets them. They'll make an extra loud click, and this lets them effectively see for about 2 or 3 seconds because Naughty Dog decided that echolocation is the same thing as eyesight. Problem is, they do this a lot. Every time they walk somewhere and change their pathing, they'll do this, so I have to carefully plan my routes so that clickers won't detect me. Same goes for shamblers. Seattle Day 2 is where I got more comfortable. Now I got my grip on the game mechanics pretty well and was prepared to take on the challenges. The first area here is Hillcrest. This is probably my favorite section of the game. It's always just super fun to mess around in. There's a couple infected scattered about in the buildings, but they're easy to sneak past. The real issue with this area was the introduction of dogs. There's a huge problem here for me. I don't have the resources to spare to shoot these dogs. 9 times out of 10, the dog will always be walked by an owner, and if you get within a certain range of the dog, it will instantly detect you no matter what, like it's a Twitter user that sees a plastic potato that doesn't identify as non-binary. This means that I literally have no chance of taking out a dog without a bullet, so I need to avoid them altogether. This Hillcrest section took me a few hours to get through. I had to plan every single move so carefully and study all the AI patterns down to the teeth. It really makes you wonder how I fail at school. On top of this, I couldn't go anywhere near a dog or even their tracks because they'll catch your scent, and I don't have any materials to break the scent. So basically, huge portions of the levels are cut off to me if they're tracked by dogs. I won't bore you with the insanely long details of how I spent far more of my life than I would have liked memorizing how to perfectly get through this. Thankfully, pretty much every Hillcrest area can be ran through and doesn't require you to kill everyone.
Thought I saw movement. I'll see what it was.
The only area that had any cause for concern was the bow stalker. You can't actually leave the room without the bow, so that's another forced pickup.
By the car! Let them go now!
Stop me!
Ellie's flashback didn't really concern me too much. I knew about the bloater, but I also knew that I only had a couple enemy encounters, so I knew I could use my resources more liberally. Now, for some reason, which I do not know, Joel decided to be a literal badass. It was genuinely like it was me from 2013 playing as Joel here. He kept on blasting away every single zombie with a shotgun like ammo just wasn't a problem. I had no idea why, but I definitely wasn't going to complain about it.
More infected! Got it! Got some runners! Down! It's down! Here comes some more! Over here!
The bloater actually wasn't that bad. I just trained him around and let Joel shoot him. Now it was on to the rest of day 2. There's this section with a bunch of stalkers which sucked absolute ass because you can't get past it without killing them, and I didn't know anything about stalker attack patterns yet. Stalkers work a lot like crackheads do. They stay in one spot for quite a while and hide, and then randomly move around to another corner to hide and waiting to ambush you. In case I already didn't want to kill myself, I did. Druckmann decided to throw an arrow at me and force me to take a shit ton of damage for no reason. Anyway, this is one of the longest encounters in the whole game. There's literally like 30 enemies here, and I was honestly shocked that I was able to take it like a champ, and I don't think I reset any more than 10 times. Clearly my skills were evolving. Or so I thought. Fuck this guy. Fuck this guy in particular.
Don't let her escape! You won't escape!
Everybody knows hospitals are where some serious shit goes down in the Last of Us games. You technically can sneak past this encounter, but I'm a masochist and decided that I wanted to kill everybody brutally, so that's exactly what I did after about 30 minutes.
Close our stairs.
Hope that's our guys executing those freaks.
Shit. Relax. Quiet. Quiet. Can't take all of us. Fuck you. Shut up. Okay, take it easy. Shut the fuck up. Quiet. Got you.
Yeah, that little bitch got what he deserved.
Fucking.
Trespasser! Somebody, please! Walk away from this, okay? I can.
Shut the fuck up!
Gun down! Hands up!
Get back!
Ellie decided to tell Joel to fuck off, which kicked us into Seattle Day 3. About half of this is just following Jesse around and killing random people because, once again, Ellie is a complete sociopath with no regards for literally anybody's feelings but her own.
I think she's got something. Smell something, girl? Check behind you. She's got a dog.
After all that.
For dancing? Sounds pretty great right about now.
Jesse decided to leave me because he wanted to go help our friend, but I wanted to kill more people. That's not a joke, that's actually what happens. Ellie is XP farming. Now I came to what I had been preparing for my whole run. The shopping mall with the boat is without a doubt one of the hardest sections of this run purely because of the shitload of people. It took me about 45 minutes to get it right, but holy crap did it suck more than Abby probably did. In hindsight, I'm pretty sure you can actually just get on the boat and drive away. I don't think you have to kill everyone. So I just wasted a lot of my time.
Got her! Over here! We found her! Right in there! Relax. Move in!
Quiet.
Calm down. You'd better start running.
I kicked the absolute shit out of these scars without a single reset too, so that was pretty cool.
Quiet. Shut up.
Now here's the huge bump in this run. Ellie's day 3 bloater is one of the most difficult things I have ever tried to do. If you have ever passed a kidney stone, this was like passing 3 of them at the same time. I had 1 shotgun shell and 1 arrow, that's it. Now I'm gonna preface this section. Let me get up close to you and realistic here. I spent 7 hours fighting this single bloater. I sat down one night at midnight and played until 7 in the morning. I am gonna help break this down for you, why I couldn't do it. This fight is clearly based around you potentially not having any ammo. That means that a runner spawns in every 30 to 60 seconds to help supply ammo. That sucks for me, since I'm not here to pick up ammo, I'm here to knife shit to death. There's an initial wave of runners, about 10 or so, that keep spawning, and after they're dead, that aforementioned sequence commences. They're only runners, no stalkers or clickers thankfully, although one guy online did say he got a clicker, so that kinda spooked me a little bit. After looking online just to confirm, it is possible to kill this bloater with just a knife. This guy did it twice on grounded. Only difference was, he was using bricks and bottles. I wasn't. I had to rely on the bloater charging into them to kill them. Now I'm gonna start breaking down some tests and stats I ran here. It takes 6 point-blank shotgun blasts to the head or 6 fully charged arrows to the head to kill him. Since I could easily deduce that they both did nearly identical damage, I could rule out that I needed to do enough melee damage to equal 4 headshots on the bloater. After further testing in the encounters mode where I increased my own health, it turns out this was about 50 to 60 knife hits. So I devised a strategy. Spawn in, shoot him with a bow, wait for an opportunity to hit him with a shotgun, then just keep knifing when he's stunned. I opted to only hit him when he was stunned because I had no health upgrades and I could only barely survive 1 bloater hit. That meant if I took any damage from a zombie, I was a 1 hit for the bloater and I wouldn't be likely to survive any CQBs since the bloater can literally chain together a combo of 5 super fast attacks. I think this wouldn't have been too challenging if I had bricks and bottles, but I didn't, so fuck me, right? The bloater only has 3 attacks. He can charge you, he can throw spores, and he can punch. The charge is always preceded by a roar, so that means it's super easy to predict. The spore attack comes almost always after the roar. So long as you aren't close enough for him to hit you, he'll constantly just go back and forth between these 2 attacks. When I was doing my testing for this on light mode, I noticed that the spores do about the same damage as they do in the first game, which isn't really a lot. This turned out to be incredibly inaccurate since the spores on Survivor actually drain about 2 health bars immediately and are literally the bane of my existence. Also, for some reason, the bloater's charge does significantly less damage than his punch. That's kinda weird. You know, you would think this big built-up charge and roar would do a ton of damage. No, it knocks off like one health bar. But the punch, oh no, the basic punch, oh god, that's like 3 health bars. Now, I need you to believe me when I tell you I put my heart and soul into this fight. I really, really did. But for the life of me, I just couldn't do it without bricks or bottles, so I caved in and picked up items. So in the end, yes, I failed this challenge here, which is a huge shame because this is actually Ellie's final fight. I'm gonna make an ultimatum though. If The Last of Us 2 ever comes to PC, I will 100% kill the shit out of this bloater, knife only, I pinky promise. But 7 hours was just too much for my body to handle. This marks the halfway point in the game. Normally I probably wouldn't talk about this, but because this game is so long, I suppose I kinda have to. At this point, I felt both depressed and excited. For one, I had just made it halfway through the game without picking up anything at all. That's insane. But for another, I failed that at the very last fight. It's really sad. Abby, you're literally forced to pick up a bottle right away, which is super cringe, since she literally pulls out a gun like 3 minutes later. What the hell? Abby Day 1 is filled to the brim with combat. Thankfully, you're given a good bit of ammo to compensate for that though. Sadly, you're not exactly just gifted with a bunch of health though, because you take mandatory damage that forces you to use your medkits. Next, there's this huge encounter with a bunch of seraphites and buildings that I thought was going to be stupidly hard, but was actually stupidly easy. You can literally just walk up the stairs and run past everyone. Lol. Once again, the game forces you to pick up a shotgun, so free shot. After spending an embarrassing amount of time trying to figure out how to get Abby through here without getting caught, I realized you can literally just walk to the exit like it's no big deal, and it's safe to say I've never felt stupider. Literally, look how easy this is. Anyway, after Abby gets caught and doesn't die for some reason, you're forced to fight a shit ton of stalkers. This wasn't really the hard part. What was is the next part. You boost Yara and Lev through this window, and for some reason they just go away until you kill everything. I tried waiting it out, but it didn't seem to work, and for some reason they just abandoned you for like 20 minutes. Anyway, this part really tested my limits. It took me about an hour and a half of intense trial and error and getting absolutely M-worded, but I figured out an effective strategy. The first problem here is that I don't have enough ammo to deal with clickers liberally. Turns out, if you headshot them once, you can stun them and insta-kill them. With that out of the way, here was my master plan. You sprint to this back room right away, and in here you can kill about 4 to 6 zombies easily. Once the Shambler comes in, you have to book it because these guys practically insta-kill you for some reason. From here on, I just ran around and attempted to punch whenever I could. This worked after a few tries, but I came to one major issue. I ran out of ammo completely, and there was still one Shambler left. This is a problem for a bunch of reasons. For one, Shamblers explode when you kill them, and that would most certainly kill me. And 2, they explode when you go near them, so I can't punch them. How the hell are you gonna hurt this thing, I hear you ask? That's right, I can hear you, I'm in your closet. I had one trick up my sleeve. They can't attack you when they're squeezing through a gap. That basically meant I could punch him, then run away while he was squeezing through this gap. Now that I felt like a genius for devising such a plan to punch a shambler to death, Yara decided to randomly come help me out about 90 minutes after she left me because fuck me, I guess. Now that we abandoned the two kids that are kind of shoehorned into the story, Abby just goes and picks up a crossbow because why not? I need another tally to add to my failures anyway. I opted to just sneak through this whole boat area too. It's really easy. Now this here might be the most depressing part of this whole run. You have to break into the aquarium, except you have to break the glass here. I only had a single bullet, and it was from that crossbow I just picked up. After sacrificing my one and only bolt to a piece of fucking glass, I was greeted by another piece of glass. Now sadly, I was forced to pick up a bottle and break this. There was no other way. Anyway, we had hardcore sex with Owen that lasted about 6 more seconds than it needed to because somebody at Naughty Dog was having a field day, and then we were off to the hospital because an entire section of this game is just dedicated to finding a medkit for Yara. Literally. Like, it's just a medkit with some sutures in it. Like, you don't think maybe Abby should have just looked around downtown for a small little medical facility? Did she really have to go to the largest hospital in all of Seattle that was super far away just to go inside of an ambulance? I'm sure there are other hospitals in Seattle all over the place. It's a big city. They've got to be there, dude. Come on. Okay, so I did some Seattle map digging, and it turns out that... So here's the marina right here. You can see it. It's this big blue one. Around it in red, I've circled every hospital or medical clinic I could find that was listed on this size of map. Now you can zoom in a lot more, and there are a lot more. Now let me tell you, I do not believe it for 1 second that Abby has to go all the way into WLF occupied territory that she cannot go into to get this one little suture kit. I will not believe you if you tell me that none of these places have a single suture kit. Like, come on, dude, there's no possible way. Well, then I got to thinking, where is this hospital? Where is the Lakeview Hospital that the WLF are staying at? So I started doing some more researching in Seattle. I live in California. I've never been to Seattle. So according to Ellie's map, the Lakeview Hospital is somewhere west of the I-5. Now here's the I-5. It's this big road that runs through the middle here. Now as you can see, the gap between the marina and the I-5 isn't actually that drastic in terms of map size. So it would seem that this hospital is significantly closer to Abby than we thought. So why in the world does Abby say that it's going to take hours and hours to get there just by walking? If it's this close, if it's on the west side of the I-5. 2, why is she going into occupied territory that she knows she can't be in? 3, why is she not going to a little hospital around here, as I've listed out tons of them and there are at least 20 more? And 4, Ellie's map is completely inaccurate, because actually, according to this guy's Reddit comment, and apparently he's just a Seattle hospital aficionado, I don't know. None of these hospitals actually, none of the descriptions in the game line up with where the hospital is, according to the game. So it just like retcons itself because hospital lore is important, I guess. That was a really weird side ramble tangent, but you get my point, right? We don't need to take an entire day out of this game just to go to this hospital for one medkit. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get back to my video now. The next major point of interest here is actually the hotel with Abby. First, we get a flamethrower here, which is kind of cool. As we've previously established, hotels are also where the vassals of horror in this universe lie. Seriously, look me in the eyes and tell me the hotel basement isn't the scariest part of the first game. You can't do it. That's fucking terrifying to this day, dude. There's like 8 clickers, a bloater, and 2 or 3 stalkers in a single small area, and I think this was absolutely fucking terrifying. The strategy here is to just lay down on the floor the whole time and pretend like you're a Black Ops snake. You need to take this incredibly specific path down to the very inch in order to not get caught or jumped by a wall stalker. Not kidding, if you deviate from this little sliver of the floor, you will literally get your face pounded so hard. Now we're entering the deepest and darkest dungeon of this whole game. The hospital basement is probably the reason you clicked on this video. We all know what's coming. First, I had to turn the power on. See, I told you I'd still make zombies videos. Now I had to walk around in the eerie silence that was this dank basement. I didn't have a single resource to my name, that was it. I walked up to this normal looking ambulance that surprisingly nobody charged me $1,000 to get in. The Rat King was a huge problem. I knew about this for the entire run but chose to kind of just ignore it. I kept putting it back in my mind. Because I had no resources, the game couldn't even provide enough for me to fight him. Basically, I was hard stuck here, so instead of shooting, I decided to use pipe bombs. I counted out a total of 20 pipe bombs I had to use between the king and the stalker. Normally I wouldn't cheat like this, like how I did the bloater legit, but the game literally just doesn't throw enough supplies at you to kill them both legit this way. I also had infinite ammo on here, but I never actually shot any bullets at all, so I only used pipe bombs. I spent a good while trying to punch the stalker to death, but he has a move where he will push you away and instantly chuck a spore at you. This is really unpredictable and almost always an insta-kill, so sadly I couldn't punch him to death without some serious RNG luck. After the 7 hours of torture with the bloater, I think after about half an hour of this, I was done. I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't. We're almost there, guys. We're almost at the final stretch. Seattle Day 3 was actually easier than I expected. I guess testosterone was fuming because there was only one section I struggled with at all. Lev decided to run away and be stupid, so once again the entire plot of this third act for Abby is chasing a random kid because said kid is stupid. Anyway, the sniper part. I thought this would be really hard, but actually it's really easy because you can just run past all the infected. Also, Manny totally gets his shit rocked, which is awesome because he's literally the least likable character in this whole game. It's him or Nora, no doubt. I don't feel like you could pull a single person and tell me that the least likable character in this game is not Manny or Nora. I don't care if you're like someone who thinks that Ellie is an absolute monster for killing hundreds of people just like for fun because she fucking feels like it. You cannot tell me that Manny or Nora are in any way at all better than Ellie. This WLF encounter was by far one of the worst of the whole game. I spent a solid hour memorizing the AI and how to get through this. It was literally so painful, like the rest of this game, so please leave a like for my sanity. Just think about it. I beat almost the entire game without a gun, without medkits, without craftables, anything.
Come on out, Abby. Let's get this over with.
Hit the exit and sweep this building.
Locked up. Found her! Light her up! God damn it! Light her up!
Gone.
Did you find her?
Afterwards though, it was pretty smooth sailing. There are scars and wolves fighting each other everywhere, so if you pick your moves carefully, you actually don't even have to get caught and you can just sneak past it all.
Any more of those
Stores over
freaks
here!
around?
By the restaurant!
Let's move!
There was one final section left of Abby's half of the game, the Ellie boss fight. I thought this was going to go over horribly. I expected to get absolutely destroyed because, again, Ellie is a literal sociopath capable of murdering thousands of people over the course of 3 days. But I was surprised, and it actually went pretty smooth except for one instance in which I tried to punch her and she just frickin' milli-rocked my shit.
Motherfucker! Shit!
But we did it. We freaking did it. Mostly, anyway. After Ellie leaves her nice life behind to go chase some chick years later, there's one final stretch until we make it to the end, Santa Barbara. Most of this section was easy. It was the very end that got me.
Not like.
Sorry, get you?
No. I'm good. Something funny?
Looks like you shit your pants.
Fuck you say?
Oh, bitch.
Bad move. Fucking dead! There's someone here! Make sure we're secure, damn it! Go around! Get the side!
You went back that way!
What about you?
No, got nothing.
Take your car. I'll take it out.
Car! There! Don't do anything stupid. Shut up. Someone got west! I'm on it. Oh, shit! Here! Don't let her escape! We got her! Right over here! Stop her!
And just like that, boys, I did it. I managed to beat The Last of Us Part 2 without scavenging anything, mostly. You technically can beat the bloater with just melee, but I just couldn't. I can't find any footage of somebody cheesing the Rat King, and I simply just don't think it's possible with the resources you're given on Survivor. Maybe on Light, but I'm not a pussy, so I wasn't going to do that, and that's still a stretch anyway. The total runtime was about 30 hours of suffering. That sounds normal for this game, but think it through real quick. Normally, you spend probably half of game time looting and looking at your surroundings. I was basically doing a speedrun and booking it for exits, and it still took me that long. If you have any ounce of love in your heart at all, you'd at least leave a like for my suffering and maybe subscribe for some more stupid challenge videos in the future. Anyway, thank you so much for your time if you made it this far, as I imagine most usually don't. Let me know what I can improve on, and hopefully you have a much better day than I did, because I'm currently contemplating ending it all. Thank you, Neil Druckmann.